You have reached Imperial Reviews, and today's review is Kraven the Hunter. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's get into it. Well, the time is finally here. I'm a little late to reviewing this movie, but this movie is a little late when being released. So there are a lot of reviews out here. People don't like the movie. So I'm gonna speak from like anytime I do a comic review, I'm always coming from a novice point of view, where novice comic watchers, we're really watching for the movie itself. We're not watching for the accuracy of the comic and how it was really the reality of what happened in the comics versus the movie. So I think a lot of the like comic heads that's really deep in the comics would say they might be disappointed in this movie because it's not showing uh Kraven's true origin story. But what also hurts this film is that it was originally supposed to be released back in August of 2023, and I don't know what happened why it wasn't released. It should have been, because the trailer was good enough. It drawed a lot of us in during that time. It looked good, interesting enough, but they didn't release it. And I think it was again supposed to release either October, December of 2023, and that fell through. And the next thing, all of a sudden, you heard it said um, of 2024, and then they chose December of 2024. So I'm like, that was terrible. That's the anticipation, the build up, and so I don't know what ultimately took place with that. But for it to be originally August of 2023 to get released December of 2024, that's a bad look. Nevertheless, the film was finally released, and this is supposed to be like Sony's last standalone villain film. So of course, Kraven is supposed to be like like Venom, like an anti-villain type. You know, go after people for the greater good, but they not really a hero. Or anti-hero, whatever you want to call it. Nevertheless, let's get into the film. So the film starts off with Sergey and Dimitri. Well, let's I didn't go over the cast. Pardon me. Aaron Taylor Johnson plays as Sergey Kravinoff. Ariana DeBose plays as Calypso Ezil. Fred Hetchinger plays as Dimitri Kravinoff. Christopher Abbott plays as the foreigner. Russell Crowe plays as Nikolai Kravinoff. And pretty much that's the bulk of the cast. Now you have, like I stated, Sergey and Dimitri's in the boarding school. They get picked up by their dad, Nikolai, and he pretty much, no holds barred, just straight ripped the band-aid off. Your mom passed away. And basically tell the boys, I'm taking you away and we're going on a hunting trip or whatever. And so basically telling them, man up, and that's how we're going to deal with it. So the dad was like a hunter, where they go and hunt game, hunting deer, wild foreign animals, to come back and um, put them as trophies on their wall. So while they're out doing this, I think they shoot like a deer or something out there, a buck. And somehow Dmitri and Sergey drifted off from the group. And while this is happening, young Calypso is with her grandmom, and her grandmom is telling her the way of their family and their heritage. And she showed her the tarot cards. She told her to put down 3 cards, and then the last card had a man with a lion on it. And basically, she gave her this potion. Pretty much said the potion is a special potion, bring somebody back to life, and you'll know when to use it. So back to Dmitri and Sergey drifted off. They ran into a lion. Sergey jumped in between the lion and Dmitri and told Dmitri run. And the lion pretty much was tearing Dimitri up. I mean, tearing Sergey up, biting him and scratching him, and then the dad came with the gun shooting, but the lion was just taking the bullets like it wasn't nothing. So he pretty much ran off with Sergey. Now, during this time, the grandma told the young Calypso, hurry up and take this potion in the cars, keep them before your parents get back. So when the parents got back, they went on their safari trip, and pretty much Calypso was just looking in the skies. And uh, when they stopped to take pictures of a giraffe, they told Calypso, here, you need to get up and come watch this and come take a picture. They looked and Calypso was gone. She was off into the safari. So she ended up coming encounter with the lion who had Sergey. And the lion looked at her, she looked at the lion just dropped Sergey off. So it was like destiny. Like the lion did what he was supposed to do by taking Sergey and bringing him to that spot. Sergey was dead. She gave Sergey the potion. When a potion went into Sergey's system, all these symbols and spirit of life type thing was going on. Meanwhile, Calypso's family came, found her. They took Sergey, flew him into the hospital. The doctors wrote Sergey as being dead. However, he, after they pit time of the death, when the rest of the doctors walked out of the room, the last doctor stayed there for a second, and his pulse came back. And once he came back, he was good as new. So they pretty much like, well, what, it's a miracle. I don't know what happened. So his family pretty much came in, and at that moment, that's when like the dad knew, like, yo, my son gonna be like, he gonna be a beast, or whatever. Nevertheless, what happened is they always wanted to get away from their dad, and so Sergey started feeling different and stronger. So he instantly started picking up that, like, I got to get out of here. And you later find that the lion who bit Sergey, that the dad went and found that lion and killed him, because that lion had a scar on his face, and then that lion head was on the dad's mantle. So the dad was pretty much like a hunter, like, this is what we do. Nevertheless, when Sergey was pretty much get ready to sneak out the house, he ended up falling off the roof, but because he was different now, he landed on his feet. And so Dimitri was like, don't leave me. So Dimitri stopped him and pretty much said, don't leave me here with him. And Sergey pretty much like, I'll come back for you, but I gotta go. So then it fast forward. At this time, it fast forward to that moment right there was flashback. But in present day time, it showed Sergey going into a prison got captured. He's going into a prison to kill somebody. So he got a list. So there's some big name known thing that if the hunter has you on the list, you don't come off until you did. So he was going out killing a bunch of people that he felt was just like his father. So this is where it gets action packed. He's in the prison, and he would, the gang bosses in the prison, and the gang boss has like a rug with a tiger claw teeth coming out. He snatches the tooth out the tiger thing, kills the men in there, and then he breaks himself out of the prison, and there was a plane waiting for him, and it just showed like how he was able to navigate out the prison and climb the walls, jump out off of the prison, run fast in the cold, and then end up running in the mist and flying off in a plane, and then getting dropped off back at the safari area where he resonates from. So then what you start to happen, you also had this guy, the Rhino, and you find out what his storyline is, that he went to a doctor out in New York that pretty much was experimenting, and he used to work with Nikolai, and he knew Nikolai would never respect him, so he wanted to earn his own respect. So he went to this doctor, and the doctor gave him some experimental enhancement. And what happens is that if he has to keep this, he has to keep plugged up with this special serum to maintain normancy. If he take this thing out, what'll happen is he turns into like a human rhino. And you see throughout the movie, you see like a couple moments where like he halfway turned to the rhino. He didn't turn full rhino until the end. So the the thing is that Sergey does, he's full blown Kraven the Hunter at this time, taking people off his list. He goes see his brother once a year on his brother's birthday. The dad shows up. He has resentment to the dad. What eventually happens is the rhino wants to take over Nikolai's territory. So the rhino, he knows about Kraven the Hunter and everything. So the rhino pretty much uh, kidnaps Dimitri. So by this time, Kraven befriends an adult Calypso, tells her she was the one who saved them, and he asked her, did she have any more of that potion? She pretty much said no. And so, but she's at this time in her adult life, she's a lawyer, a big time lawyer. So they pretty much start working together, and there's a moment where the person who flew Kraven off in the plane, we don't know who that person is either, but maybe they just irrelevant. Nevertheless, what happens from there is it's a big scene where when they was kidnapping Dimitri, Kraven is running after him, running through cars, and he was doing everything to try to get his brother back. And it just action scene, great impact action scene. I don't see how people really, if you took this just for like a movie, if it wasn't called Kraven the Hunter, it was something else, just a movie, you say this is a good action movie. But I think because it's called Kraven the Hunter and the comic is disappointed, or maybe because the long waited release is why they pretty much is like, nah. But overall, the action scenes was good. I think it was well done. What eventually happens is that they cut Dimitri's finger off, and after they cut his finger off, Kraven ended up getting them to come on his turf in his woods, and he one by one start picking them all apart. But then the foreigner has powers where he makes you hallucinate and don't see what you actually see, and so he shoots up Kraven with this nerve agent pretty much that goes in the spine, have you hallucinate and start kill you slowly. And so he did that, and Kraven couldn't see which version of the foreigner was the real version. Eventually what happens when he was about to kill Kraven, Calypso came and shot a bow and arrow in his eye and killed him. And so then she gave Kraven some more of the potion. And he said, I thought you said there wasn't none left. Which she pretty much said, I couldn't trust you to tell you, my secrets. So she brought him back to life. So I'm thinking in the comic world, it's more storyline for him keep coming back to life and stuff like that. So I guess I will have to like dig a little bit, get some backstory on that. But nevertheless, he came back to life, and now there was the big showdown with Rhino and Kraven at the end. And he bested Rhino because the tube that Rhino has stuck up in him to keep him normal. That's where Kraven stabbed him at, and he started leaking out pretty bad, and then he ended up beating Kraven down. And before Rhino died, Kraven pretty much said, "How did you know who I was?" He said, "Well, the answer has been in front of you the whole time. So you instantly start thinking of like, if the bad guys didn't know who I was, they was fed information. Who gave them information? The dad. So the dad wanted. He knew Sergey wouldn't come back and help him or join him, but he would join him for his brother if his brother was kidnapped or whatever. So that's what he did, and so he fed the rhino who the Kraven's real identity was. When he did that, of course, he knew that Kraven would come. So the whole time is Sergey's pretty much saying, I'm better than my dad. I'm not him." And Sergey's pretty much said, "You're worse than him, because you really go out and kill people." That's what Dmitri pretty much said to him. So nevertheless, Sergey found his dad off in the forest somewhere and pretty much emptied out all the bullets to his guns, and they had this father and son back and forth, and he basically didn't hold no punches. Came clean, told him everything, and Sergey ended by telling him basically like, "All right, well that's what it is, cool. Like, all right, never have fear before death or whatever." So at that moment, you hear something coming uh, in the back, and it's a big grizzly bear, and then the dad Nikolai tries to grab a gun to shoot, but it was no bullets in there, and pretty much the bear came and mauled the dad. Fast forward a year, Dimitri is on his birthday. He's meeting with Nikolai, and then they're, the year to come visit his brother. But now Dimitri's different. He's sounding different. He's talking like the dad. Pretty much, you could tell he took over the dad's business. And Sergey, like, I can't let you do that. Like, what are you talking about? And then he pretty much letting Sergey know, like, man, um, Rhino's not around. Dad is not around. The business is there for the taking. I went through New York, so he went to this. Dimitri went to the same doctor that the Rhino went to, and so this doctor helped him take some stuff where he's now a chameleon, so he's like a shapeshifter. He can manipulate, turn into different people, and talk like them and everything. So he started changing it right in front of uh, Kraven. And so Kraven was like, man, why, basically, I can't let you do this. Like, basically, I'm going to have to put you on my list eventually. And that's pretty much how it went off. He now know that his brother took over the Empire organization, and he's now the chameleon. But he said, "Dad, your dad left you something." So when Kraven went back to the old house, there was a letter from his dad. Pretty much, basically, the dad was like, um, Sergey, no, not Sergey, I bet Dmitri wasn't Nikolai's real son. He was just like, they got Sergey and Dmitri got the same mom, but not the same dad or whatever. So Nikolai pretty much was telling Dmitri like, you are my son. At the end of the day, we're both hunters, whether you like it or not. Um, we're both hunters or whatever. So what happens from there after he's had that letter to Sergey? He left Sergey a coat, a vest, and with the vest it had like the fur, the fur mane of a lion with the vest. So looked it like, yeah, like you best believe you'll start sometime next year. You'll see somebody maybe Halloween time with that type of vest or whatever, because the vest was tough. Well, nevertheless, um, you see him with the vest sitting in the chair, and basically embracing who he really is, Kraven the Hunter, and he's his dad's son. Overall, in my opinion, a good movie. I get it. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give this movie 2.5 out of 4 stars. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Till next time.